So good afternoon. I'm Sean. I'll be the facilitator today, and welcome to class about stress management. To get acquainted real quick, what I want you to do is pair off, and I want you to ask 3 questions. One is their name. The second thing I want you to ask is, what is one expectation that you think that you can get out of this class? And the last would be one positive thing about you that we wouldn't know just by looking at you. So again, as you pair off, your name, one expectation from the class, and then one positive thing about you that we wouldn't know just by looking at you. Thank you.
What's your name?
Jeanette.
My
What's your name?
expectation
I am Nicole.
to better learn how to cope with my stress. And one positive thing is I'm a very caring person.
I'm so stressed out. I just want to alleviate all this that's going
I'm
on.
odd. Learn how to deal with my stress and bother just like that.
One
One
thing
thing that I want to
you do not know about me is that I am caring.
I can see
Even
that.
when I'm stressed, I like to encourage people.
My name is Jeanette, and I expectation to make sure I'm not yelling at my daughter. And I'm stressed, I yell at my daughter.
I'm good about it.
And
About 20 more seconds.
I'm not, so, and I'm just usually a sweet person.
All right, we can come bring it back in. Let's start to my left, and can you introduce?
This is Jeanette, and she is, when she is stressed, she yells at her daughter, so her expectation is her to not yell so much. And she's a sweet person.
Okay. And can you introduce her?
My partner is Nicole, and she's caring person, and expectation for to be positive, to release her stress.
Okay. And we'll come over here on this side. Can you introduce?
Yes, this is Ahmad. He hopes expects to learn how to better cope with his stress, gain better coping skills. And he stated that although even when he is stressed, he's very encouraging to others.
Okay.
This is Candace. She, like myself, is trying to learn how to cope with stress in a positive way. And also, one positive thing about her, when she's stressed, she's still caring. So she still knows how to care about others too.
Okay. So I see that people still feel that when they're stressed, sometimes they're still caring. And so how does that work? How can you be stressed but still kind of caring as well? How does that work?
Well, for me, is that I care. I find that I care so much for my family that even when I'm tired, I'm still going. If a friend says, "Hey, I need help doing this," and even though I have my own issues going on right here, I'm still going above and beyond for my friend.
Okay.
So,
Anybody else can feel that? Anybody else have that same kind of feeling with stress, that they care so much about someone else that they go ahead and continue on, even though they know they might not feel like doing it, might not want to participate, might not have the time, but they still kind of go ahead and kind of get into it anyway because they don't want to let that person down?
And I can relate to that, but I think it's sometimes for me, it adds more stress to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because I have to learn to say no, because I'm having a hard time saying no, and then I can end up, because it's superficial and not genuine to say.
Okay.
So I feel more stress, so I have to say no.
And we're going to come back to that thought, because that's a great thought, learning how to say no. But I want to go ahead and continue on. Again, this class is a stress management class. We're going to come up with different ways as a group as we talk about it, dealing with stress. Because sometimes the way I deal with it might not work for you, but you might have a way that you deal with it that might help someone else in the other group. We're going to meet once a week for the next about 8 weeks. And then after those 8 weeks, we'll figure out how the group is going and do we need to continue on. Again, we'll meet that Thursday from 6 to 7, about 1 hour. I like the idea that when we talked about it, that we want to remain positive. Stress can be so negative most of the time, but there is some positive stress too as well. An example of that would be if you ever play kind of sports and you kind of feel stressed right before you go out to perform or right before you take a test or something like that, and then you end up doing well on that test. You had that little stress of those butterflies, as people say, but in reality, that's some good stress. And we want to keep that kind of stress. What we want to kind of get rid of is those negative stresses as to where people are kind of stressing you out because you're overexerting yourself. But as far as my role as a facilitator, I'm kind of sitting in the background. This is all about us as a group, but it's more about each other. So as you all continue to talk and talk, make sure you talk to each other, look at each other, and don't look necessarily at me because I'm the facilitator. And sometimes that's hard to do because since I'm the leader, you kind of think that you need to talk to me. But it's easier to kind of talk amongst each other. Let's talk about some roles or some expectations we've already talked about, but let's talk about some guidelines or some rules that we need to set for this group. And since it's our group, I'll start out by saying that I think that I will be respectful of your time if you're respectful of my time. And what that means is when you come in, please be on time. Please have your cell phones off and be ready to go to the group. And in turn, if you do that for me, then what I do is ensure that I keep you for that 1 hour and we easing up out of here within that 1 hour. So if you can respect my time, then I can respect your time. What are other kind of rules that you think that we need to incorporate in this particular group?
Confidentiality?
Okay, so yes, confidentiality is key. What we say in here should stay in here. Now, if you want to go home and talk about what you said in the group, that's okay. But you don't need to talk about what other people said and other people issues in the group. Can we all agree to that? All right, so I like that. Confidentiality. What else?
Judgment-free zone, not judging one another, because we all have different things going on in our lives and handle things differently.
Yeah, so judge-free zone is awesome because this is a stress management class. If I'm coming to class and I'm already stressed out and I'm thinking you are going to judge me by what I say, it's only going to build on that stress. And it's not going to make me want to come and I won't want to participate. And then this group is not going to do us no good. Our goal is to be able to help you build some coping skills, but also reduce the level of stress that you have. And some of that is coming back to what Jeanette said earlier, is learning how to say no. And we'll have a class on that. And it's hard to do, especially with people you love. But we have a class later on talking about the importance of being able to say no and the importance of having self-care to take care of yourself. So yeah, I like that. A no judgment zone. Any other?
Talk it over.
Okay, so respect for one another. As each person says what they're saying, what's on their heart or in their mind, as we as the individual, we will respect that, we will listen, and we won't judge, but we can comment. And we should be able to open and honestly comment without judging someone else. Any other points about these as far as norms and rules that we're going to have for this group? Okay, well, good. I think that's a good start. And these rules, again, it's a breathing document. So as we come up with different things as a group and we need to add to those rules or those norms, that's what we'll do. Okay? All right, so as we think about stress, I want to go around the room and I want you to tell me in one word. Well, let's change that. I want to get a stress check real quick. Periodically throughout this group, I'm going to do a check, and I want to kind of figure out where you at. And sometimes I just say I need a thumbs up. So if I'm looking at you and it seems like things are going on, and I'm saying everything good, and you give me the thumbs up, and I'm good. Other times I'm going to go around the room because I want to see kind of where you at as far as emotionally, because talking about stress can bring up some things. And so we'll do a scale of 1 to 10. 10 meaning you're still really stressed out. The topic we're talking about has got you even more stressed. 1 is, yeah, I have some stress, but it's manageable and I can deal with it. So I want to go around the room real quick and try to get you, figure out where you at right now. Now what I need is 2 things. I need kind of where you at normally with your stress level, and I need to kind of know where you at this moment. So for me, normally my stress level is probably about a 3 or 4. Right now I'm a little lower, only because I'm sitting up here talking, and that's my comfort zone. So I'm probably at a 2. So as we go around the room, again, I need the 2 things. I need the 1, what you normally are, and kind of where you at now. And we'll begin right here on the left. Okay,
And I'm at the 10.
okay, all right. Next,
I'm normally 10,
okay,
and now 11.
okay, so you still, okay, I got that. Going on around?
I would say, at a 7, but, I'd probably say I'm somewhere in the middle right now, I'm like at 5.
Okay, so you're normally at a 7, but right now okay.
Mm-hmm.
And last,
Normally I'm between 8 and 9, but right now I'm feeling like I'm at 6.
okay, 6. So we have 2 that's kind of still stressed. So let's kind of look at that. Can you tell me what's going on right now and why you still at a real high level? What is stressful at this moment right now with you?
See, this is a new environment for me.
Okay, yeah,
And I'm not really usually being, used to being around so many people.
okay,
And, yeah, being around so many people, but I'm hoping that, in time,
yeah.
my levels will go down.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Being in a new environment, going to a new place, dealing with people you've never met before, it is a stress level, and it can increase your stress. And hopefully, what this class will do, and as this group continue to meet, you'll feel more comfortable. And the more comfortable you feel, hopefully, we can bring that level down. So again, that's the goal, is to kind of bring it down. But also, your goal is to be to make sure you ensure that you incorporate yourself into the group, so you can help yourself as far as your stress level as well. And what about you, Jeanette? What's causing you
I'm
to be so
so
high?
stressed because I have so many things to do, and my head is a headache. I don't know what to do. I need a massage or something.
Okay,
And don't worry about my daughter, because I yelled at her and just worry about her feelings, and my anxiety level is very high, so I'm stressed out.
so stress and anxiety kind of goes together. The more stress you're under, normally the higher your stress level or your anxiety level is. And that's okay too. But we're going to talk about how we can lower your stress, how we can lower that anxiety, how we can let some of those things go. Because as far as stress is concerned, normally we just take on more than we can bear. So part of what we got to do is learn those ways that we can take off some of that stuff so that we can be who we want to be.
Yes.
And hopefully within this class, within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to do that. As we think about stress, you see this picture with President Obama, and you can understand being the president of the United States, the world's biggest superpower, all the stress that he could have on him, all the decisions that he make, everything he say, everything he do is criticized from left to right. And you see here in this particular picture, as you look at it, some people say he's just praying, he's just taking time out. Other people saying he's just really, really, really stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about pretty much where you're at in your life. So if you're really stressed, what you see is stress. But if you're not as stressed and life is going pretty good, what you see is a person just taking a few minutes to meditate. So it's all about kind of where you at. What you feel like is normally what you see. And so here's a basic definition of stress. Real kind of basic. Because we have to understand what stress is in order for us to be able to work at lowering our stress levels, right? So this says, stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. And again, as we went around the room, we talked about a lot of us, we are overwhelmed with all the different things we have to do. We're overwhelmed with school, we're overwhelmed with our children, we're overwhelmed dealing with all the things we're trying to juggle. And then on top of that, because we are loving and we are caring, we still, even though we are overwhelmed, want to not let someone else down. And so it makes us more stressful. And it makes it that much harder for us as people to do the things we need to do. So if we think about this particular definition, anybody understand? Anybody can identify with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Tension build, circumstances resulting more tense.
I think the key is demanding circumstances, like when you're at your job, you have certain things that you know that you
Gotta
have to do.
Yeah, even with school, right? It's demanding. You got videos you gotta do, you got paperwork you gotta do, you gotta turn it in. Teachers ain't wanting to hear about this. You got a full-time job, you got family and all that. Your deadline is set, so it's very demanding. And when you put other life issues around that, it's still demanding, which again can raise your stress level, right? Now, again, with stress, there's a lot of different things that we can do. Some people like doing the breathing technique, and it works. We're gonna talk about other different exercises that we can do, I think that will help us in releasing some of that stress. Because the problem is, the more stress you have inside, you gotta be able to release it. And if you don't release it one way or another, then you end up having what they call a nervous breakdown.
Oh my.
Right? We know the people who have issues and problems and concern and everything that goes on, it's more worse than it really is. Every little molehill is a mountain because they're under so much stress. Everything is stressing them out. They get no time to themselves, right? They devote all their time to others. And then when they need something, no one's there to really help them or get them where they need to be. Anybody kind of felt like that before? Well, we give out all we can, and then in return, we don't get that same thing in return. And that can be stressful.
You know what? My mother, she normally have stress, and sometimes she looks like that. And then my father,
With the legs too.
Yeah, they look like that?
Yeah, so-
sometimes they shape like that.
Shivering?
Yeah, and then my
And that's a
brother-
good point, but hold on, because the stress is not about other people. You know, part of what we have to do here is focus on self. And so, yes, I understand your mom looks like this sometimes, but you gotta look at, do you look like this sometimes? Do you have issues or problems with that?
My daughter like that too, sometimes.
Yeah.
My daughter like, ooh.
And Jeanette, again, and it's good for your daughter, and maybe your daughter might need to come to this class. Because again, we all about trying to come up with better coping skills.
She stressed me out.
That
I
we can
stress
do.
her. She stressed, and she just, then I get stressed.
Yes. And what we need to learn how to do while we're in this class is learn how to deal with the stress. And then you can take some of these skills that you learn here
Yeah,
and take them on to your daughter.
Got to yell at her.
Yelling is not always good. It makes you feel better. So let's keep going. So here, we realize that when stress comes, it affects all different parts of our body, right? It affects our body, it affects our emotions, it affects our behavior, and specifically and more importantly, it affects our what? Mind, right? Because what goes into the mind is what? What comes out. So if we go back to that same picture I see, remember I said if you are stressful and you see this picture, what you see is President Obama looking like he's what? He's stressful. Because in your mind, you stressful. And so part of what we have to do with releasing some of that stress is changing the way we think. And that's where this positive energy comes in. That's where this positive concept of changing the way we think come in. It's saying, you know what? I know all these things that I'm dealing with is negative, but I can think about this, and it's always going to bring me back to something about being positive.
My dog's like that. My
So-
dog.
Jeanette, I need for you to kind of respect the norms, and that's not staying on topic. So I need for you to kind of focus. I know it's hard, but kind of focus so that we can stay on topic about stress, right? Now, what I need to do for this exercise, what I want you to do is I set down 4 different cards. And based on your individual ideal of stress, I want you to stand by which card affects you as far as emotions, your behaviors, your mind, or your body. Whichever one affects you most is the card I want you to kind of stand beside. And they're labeled. So whichever one is based on what you want to stand on.
Here. See it? I'm just standing here.
Just stand. Okay. Okay, now, if you're standing on one, all you gotta do is tell me which one you're standing on. So we're starting over there in the far back,
I'm standing at body.
okay? So you feel that stress affects your body physically more than any of the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next, what are you standing on?
Emotions.
Emotions. So you get pretty much emotional when you have stress. And that might be why you start crying, because your emotions build up. And then your outlet is to kind of cry and release, which is good. What are you standing on?
Behavior, I guess.
Behavior.
Bad behavior.
Yeah, you start yelling and screaming and doing all these other things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Go
last,
crazy, go crazy.
Oh, man.
okay, so yours affects your mind because you start thinking all these negative thoughts and things that you shouldn't be doing, or you should be doing better than what you're doing. So as we look around, we can see that we all struggle with stress, but we all struggle with different areas of stress. So even though it's a lot of things in common, it still can affect us differently as far as how we prioritize stress. Questions on that? All right, thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. Now, I want to look at real quick this idea of real fast of learning how to say no. We talked about that real briefly. Jeanette mentioned the fact that somehow or another she want to learn how to say no. What is it about us and saying no bothers us so much?
Don't want to let the other person down in a sense.
Okay, so she says that we don't want to let other people down. Okay, that makes sense. What else? There's more to it than that, ain't it?
Well, wanting to help other people, but just sometimes have to sort out what is priority in my life.
Okay.
Priority is helping people. I have so many things I have a lot of things on my hand, and then already overwhelmed. Then I
Okay.
have to help people. I get more overwhelmed.
Okay, sounds good. So Ahmad, you hadn't really been talking too much. Can you kind of address that as far as stress from your perspective? What is it? Why is it that we don't like to tell other people no when we already know that we kind of overwhelmed and we already have too much stress already? We still want to kind of not let that person down?
I think it shows a weakness because we think we can take on the world all the time, and when we feel as though people are asking us to do stuff, everyone wants to be the hero.
Okay.
So when you're not the hero, it causes you to have more stress on you. And like my family member can look up to you all the time and think you can deal with the worry about that, but not knowing that you're stressed out all the way.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
just not saying no.
Anybody understand that? Does that make sense to other people? We don't want to let other people down. A lot of people look up to us sometimes and think we got it all together because from the outside looking in, we do, right? But inside, we just as stressed out and ready to yell and scream just like the next person. Also, I think it is, we have to look at ourselves too. We have to kind of know our own limitations about what we can and can't do. And it's okay for us to say, you know what, normally I would help you, but right now I have too much on my plate. And I don't have room. As much as I would love to put you here, I just don't have room right now. Let me get a little bit off my plate. And then, yeah, I can help you. And it's so hard to do that. And it might even be harder from men's perspective because of the way we think. We are the hero. We are the ones that have to come through for somebody. We are the hardcore person. But also from a woman's perspective, a lot of times you all don't deal with stress as well as we do either. And so a lot of times you do hold it in and you have issues and problems and hair start falling out and all this other stuff. And we're trying to figure out why. And it all comes back to stress. I'm a single parent mom. I don't know how my kids are going to eat, how they're going to do this, what they're going to do. My kids are out in games and all these other different things. So learning how to say no is very important for us in order to move past this idea of we become too overwhelmed. Because in reality, what we understand and see eventually is that life goes on with or without you.
But you know what the problem is with me saying no? I'll say no, but there's a stress that builds up in my body.
Feel guilty
also
from saying no.
From
Yeah.
saying no. And it will bother me so much that I'll call back and say, hey, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can relate to that, especially if it's like my mom or my dad or somebody.
So even though you said no and you kind of stood up for yourself,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
still feel,
Yeah.
you still feel bad, like, well, I guess I can. And then we start thinking about all the times we kind of procrastinate anyway, and we're like, well, I could have already done did that now if I'd have went ahead and said yes in the first place. So yeah, I mean, but we also have to understand with that same concept that people pry on your weakness. And I'm not saying it from your parents' perspective that that's what they do, but when people know that you're not gonna say no, they will continue to ask and continue to ask and continue to ask until you say, you know what, I cannot do it this time. And so you as an individual have to kind of pick and choose who's doing that. But eventually you have to learn how to let some of that go in order for you to be the person that you need to be. Because stress affects your whole body. We talked about that. All different aspects of your body.
One other thing, the other thing is that when I do say no and mean it and strongly about it, I have family members that are not talking to me to this day. And, you know, these are people that we grow up together and, you know, it affects me as well. So, you know, it's not like I need to please everybody, but I want to have that, you know, my family and there are people that's not talking to me.
Yeah.
How would I handle that? How could I handle that?
Well, that's a whole nother different class. We can hit that at another time. But it is important for us to, as we stand and be firm about saying no and why we're saying no, some people are not going to like it, but that's okay. I think the most important thing for you to be is as long as you're true to yourself and you know that you're saying no for a particular reason and not just saying no, then I think you can be okay. And eventually when things calm down, you might be able to go and address that person and say, hey, this is what was going on. This is why I said no. Any other questions about that? So, as we think about this whole idea of stress and how do we deal with stress and what are some things that we can do in order to deal with stress, this is just a quick little synopsis of things that we can do to kind of help manage our stress. And it starts out with therapy. This support group can help you. But as with anything else, whatever you put into it is what you get out of it. So if you come to a group and you're not ready to prepare to talk and to share and to try to work on some things, then you're probably not going to get anything out of it. But conversely, if you come with the attitude of, hey, man, I'm trying to work through some things, I'm trying to let go some of this stress and manage my stress better, then the end results probably within the next 8 weeks is that you're going to have some skills that you've built up that's going to be able to help you deal with what's going on. Here they got the spa. Of course, exercising is always good. Let me get a quick check real quick. How many exercise? Just do a thumbs up if you exercise 3 to 4 times a week. So again, stress can build up so easily because we don't get out there and kind of do that exercise. What about eating? Give me a thumbs up if you eat healthy. If you eat healthy.
I don't have time to eat healthy.
See? And that's what I'm saying. We run out of time, we don't eat well, and we don't sleep well, and we expect that our body is going to continue to do what it's supposed to do, but we're not fueling it the way it's supposed to, and we're not giving it the proper rest. It's not going to work. Something's going to give, and your body is made so awesomely that it will shut down before it allows you to hurt yourself. And that's what people end up having, these nervous breakdowns and things, because they don't take care of themselves. And those are the 2 main things you got to be able to do. You got to eat and sleep. What about hobbies? Everybody got hobbies. That's another way that you can deal with it. It's hobbies. Whatever you enjoy doing. If it's riding bikes, if it's reading, if it's listening to music, whatever those things are, those hobbies are important for you to be able to manage your stress because it gets your mind off of everything that's going on. Meditation is good. Yoga is good. Walking out in nature is good. This is the perfect time of year to just go outside and take a walk. Enjoy and look at all the things that's out there in nature. Time management is critical. A lot of the issues that we deal with stress is because we don't manage our time. And now we're behind. And now that we're behind, even when it comes to schoolwork, we wait to the last minute. And then as we get to the last minute, other things come up. And when those other things come up, now you're trying to prioritize when you could have already did this schoolwork a week ago. And now we stressed out because all this other stuff came up, but we didn't realize it. And now we don't know what to do. Now we at 11. instead of being at 6 or 7 because the time management falls right into stress management. So we have to learn how to, in these next sections, these are kind of some of the things that we're gonna talk about. Time management is very important in order for us to deal with stress. And then we talked about music. Music is important because if you enjoy music, again, it just gives you that opportunity and that time for you to kind of calm down. Now, as we bring this to a close, I want you to think about a couple of things. First and foremost, I want us to understand how everyone deals with stress. Everyone has stress in our life. But what's important is how we deal with stress, how we release stress, and how we deal with the stress management. We've talked about briefly today some of the things that we can do to maintain it, to decrease it, whether it's reading and exercising and going to the spa, and all those things are good. We also talked just a few minutes on this idea of saying no. And it's hard to do, especially when it's people that you grew up with and that you're close to. But again, I always say if you can't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? So eventually you have to understand that it's important for you to put yourself first, to make sure you're good, and then the stronger you are, the easier it is for you to help bear other people's burdens. And so we have to think about that as well. But again, these are things that we'll talk about throughout this next time. So as we're bringing this down, and I think we're at a point where it's kind of good for us to stop. Real quick, I want to go around the room and kind of get another check as far as your stress level right now. Where you at? We'll start here.
I am about at 8 now.
Okay, that's good. That's down from 10, so I appreciate that. Here?
I'm about 9.
Okay, a 9, and you went from 11 to a 9, so that's good. Decreasing is always
Yeah.
good. Here?
I'm probably at a 4 right now.
4, yes, good. And here?
I'm probably about the same, 6.
Okay, same as 6, I can deal with that. So anything as far as feedback, anything about the group that we did good today, anything that you think we need to add to the next time, or any kind of feedback right now from the group?
I like the exercise that you told us, and music.
Yeah.
That I'm planning on going to
Listen to that music like you're hearing now.
yeah.
See, I timed that perfectly so that you can understand. I knew she was gonna say something about music. And so, but yeah, music can be a meditation, just to calm down and get your mind. Any other kind of feedback? All right, if not, thank you for coming. I'll see you next week.
All right. Yeah.
Is it real music?
It's somebody's
Yeah,
phone.
somebody's alarm.
Oh, cell phone.
No, it's a.
Hey Nicole, how you stop it?
Did you
Just
go to my music?
No, I didn't check it out yet.
Oh, check it out. It's beautiful music.